she's always being shown as so dominant. And obviously clearly above everybody else. I mean, is she the best in-ring worker? No, but she's got a look. She's a force to be reckoned with. And I think as long as you keep her off the mic, because she's not that great on the mic, give her a manager, maybe. Somebody that could be a good mouthpiece. I don't know who that would be, but somebody like a Paul Heyman, have somebody be the Paul Heyman to her Brock Lesnar. Not comparing the two at all. I mean, two completely different people and backgrounds and successes in the wrestling industry and any combat sports for that matter. But she's a motivator to those girls who might get bullied in school for being heavy and for being big, for being different. That's a good look too. She may not push as much merch as an Alexa Bliss or Bayley. I'm just talking about, and Sasha. I'm just talking about the Raw roster. But there's a motivation factor here. Like, she took the picture of her in a bikini and threw it out there on social media and be like, I'm tired of the body shaming and this, that, and this is who I am. You can run that bit for a little bit. I mean, she's a heel, but you can run that bit for a little bit. Nobody would care. I wouldn't care. Nia's actually grown on me, quite frankly. And a lot of the women on the roster deserve more time. Again, Emma's back. She was pretty much the lead, like the trailblazer, along with Paige and the likes of Summer Rae over when they were in NXT for this current crop of the Women's Revolution. So I think she deserves her due. But I don't know what plans they have. I don't pretend to know. I always say what I feel. And I don't want the title to flip-flop, but I feel that maybe a longer program where Emma's kind of in the spotlight, whether it be against a Nia Jax if she winds up turning face, going face on an Alexa Bliss who supposedly is her best friend, which is stupid. Why are you doing another best friend gimmick when you just did that with the Kevin Owens show with Jericho, which was amazing? You can't replicate that. And it's like, all right, you just did this. Why do we care? So, but the match was good. Sasha wins. Sasha Banks versus Alexa Bliss is over at the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view coming up. I don't see why that can't be any good. Both can talk. So, promo-wise, it should be interesting leading up to Great Balls of Fire. And one more note from Raw that I really kind of want to make a point of. And I know I'm cutting in on the women's segment, but I need to get this out of the way. The way they're building Samoa Joe is absolutely fantastic. Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. Now, talking about it today, do I think it's going to be a classic like Brock versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania or SummerSlam for that matter? No, it's not. Brock's past that point. His gimmick is just suplexing the shit out of people. But, and nor do I expect it to be, a classic like, Joe, Styles, and Daniels in TNA. If there's a match that either of them have done in the past that I could possibly compare it to, in which I kind of expect something of it, it would be Kobashi versus Joe from Ring of Honor. That was the two men just pounding the shit out of each other. They were beating the crap out of one another. And it's one of the stiffest matches you'll ever see. And, it was one of the few times, even especially then when Joe was on his initial ROH tear, that Joe looked human because Kobashi was the man. And he would beat you up. It's that simple. You didn't get out of the way, and he beat you up. That's it. But I expect this to be an all-out fight. I liked the segment where Brock comes out and Joe pretty much gets him in the chokehold. And they pretty much set it up where, okay, Joe can get the Coquina clutch on Brock Lesnar. It's very possible. They're making Samoa Joe a very credible threat to Brock Lesnar's Universal title. With the ratings as low as they have been, I mean, they picked up over the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, I think it was just this week. With the ratings as low as they have been historically, and especially over the last, several months, I'll note since WrestleMania, because that's when Lesnar won Universal title. They need a boost. They need somebody to kind of step up and be like, you know what? I'm here. Let me carry the company. Let me carry the brand. Let me do this. And Samoa Joe's not a stranger to it. He was the Ring of Honor World Champ. He was the longest reigning Ring of Honor World Champion at one point before Daniel Bryan took it over, or better then known as Bryan Danielson. He's used to carrying a company on his shoulders. And then, at that time, he was really young. Now he's older. He's had his experiences. He's a former TNA World Champion as well. He didn't have great runs with it, but he has been there. He can carry a brand, and he's, I think he wants that chance. And to think that right now, on this day, June 29, 2017, we could be mere days or weeks away from saying that Samoa Joe and AJ Styles have both held WWE World Heavyweight Championship gold, whether it be the Universal title or the WWE Championship. Think about that. That's a crazy thought. And, think of it even a few years back. Would we really have thought about that a few years back? I wouldn't have. But those are the two real bits that I wanted to get to from Raw, and Strowman's still awesome, so we'll leave that at that. Let's get back to the women here for a minute. Then, I was not a fan of the second Money in the Bank match. Now, if you're one of those that likes to read the dirt sheets and everything like that online, it seemed like the main reason behind this second match is because they had such backlash over the fact that James Ellsworth, a male, in the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, climbed the ladder, grabbed that briefcase, and dropped it to Carmella. I normally would say who cares, because it's wrestling, you're trying to tell a story, you're trying to do stuff that's maybe a little bit different. You may not like it, but they're trying to do stuff that's different. But this one I happen to kind of agree with. The result of the first match, in the way it happened, I think sucked. Because, when you flash back at all the past Money in the Bank ladder match winners, or the matches, you always see the men at the time at the top of the ladder holding the briefcase. And it's their it's their moment in glory, where, percentages say, in WWE storyline, that the winner of the Money in the Bank contract is pretty much guaranteed to win the championship, because I think it's only been cashed in unsuccessfully twice. And it's been a tradition at least once a year since WrestleMania 21, so that's over 12 years. Right, so that's 2005. So 12 years. So 2 failed cash-ins in 2 years, and now you're giving the women the chance now to take part in WWE tradition. Basically, now it's become tradition. And you have the guy, the male, go up, grab the briefcase, drop it to Carmella. Now, if if that result had happened, like, let's say, if there was already a women's Money in the Bank ladder match, you got your moment for the first winner. But then the second year that they did a women's Money in the Bank ladder match and James Ellsworth did what he did, I don't think there'd be much of a backlash. I think it'd be more like, all right, that was brilliant. That was something different. Now you create controversy. You create this. You create that. That would have been good. The timing of which they did this finish, it sucked. Because you wanted to have the... I mean, I'm sure... Obviously, they agreed to it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it the way they did. But if I were the women, and especially Carmella, who eventually won the match this Tuesday as well, along with the Money in the Bank ladder match at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, Carmella's stepping up her game too on the mic. I'm still not a fan really of her in-ring work, but some of the best pro wrestlers in history weren't necessarily the greatest athletes. They weren't the greatest workers, but they made up for it. They made up for it for being able to sell themselves on the microphone, and that's what Carmella is able to do right now. I think they should have just kept it as leave it alone. Maybe defend the defend the Money in the Bank briefcase against Becky, who basically they cost initially for the chance. You know what I mean? Like, defend it differently. Like, I know it's been defended before. I believe it has. Well, yeah, it was, because Mr. Kennedy lost it to Edge, and then that's when Edge cashed in on Taker. For when he cashed in on the Undertaker for the World Championship at the time. Do something like that. I mean, the SmackDown Live after the ladder match, Tamina had a huge bruise on her arm, image to scale, like it was like of the Grand Canyon. It was big and wide. It was a big bruise. And they beat the crap out of each other. Now you're giving them like 9-10 days in between just to do another one? Get out of here. I mean, there was a time in WWE where ladder matches were so frequent that it was like, all right, why do we bother with a pinfall or submission finish where this shit's gonna happen? But yeah, and then they had Ellsworth. The ending comes with when Ellsworth climbs the ladder and Becky, tells him basically make a wish, threw him off the ladder. He got nutted on the ropes. Then Carmella obviously makes her way up the ladder to claim once again claim the case. All the women, the women of the Money in the Bank ladder match, they had two great showings. Both, obviously both the ladder matches, they both had really good showings. But, to a Nerd Herder's point, when Foxy was talking about it, again, she's a former wrestler, manager, valet, whatever you want to call it. Let's just put it in layman's terms, she was in the wrestling business for a long time, and Damian Dragon was a retired wrestler. He kind of agreed with the same way. The woman's body was not. I mean, whatever be as it may, they take punishment differently than a male's body, and it's almost like, if you don't want to make history, I guess they might have agreed to it. I mean, I'm sure they did. Maybe years later, when one of them gets released because, good luck on your future endeavors. I'm sure they agreed, probably for the sake of they're in fear of losing their job. Which, again, I don't blame them. But someone's got to be like, all right, come on. 10 days ago we just kicked the crap out of each other in this Money in the Bank ladder match. You want us to do this again? Really? Like, there has to have been a more creative solution. But I keep rambling on. The long story short, the ending of the original